gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to Nerd Fight! The ultimate showdown where geek culture collides with unfiltered opinions and passionate debates. I'm your host, Mr. Know-It-All, bringing you the latest and greatest from the world of movies, TV shows, and all things nerdy. But hold on to your warp cores because the real captain of this starship is none other than Salty Trekker. So strap in and get ready for a wild ride because we're going to be talking about everything that came out of San Diego Comic-Con. And man, do we have opinions. That means only one thing. It's time to fight. Nerdfights.
Hey.
All right, that was freaking awesome.
That was awesome. I love it so much.
I have not seen that intro until just now.
Oh, that was so
that
great.
was awesome. As I was just saying, Mr. Know-It-All is completely wrong when it comes to Star Wars. So we'll see how he stands up when we start talking about Star Trek in the MCU.
No, of course. It's awesome.
It's so funny because we started arguing about the relevance of Andor in the canon of Star Wars, and then we're gonna
Good
miss the show because we're too busy fighting.
No, good stuff. No, for real. But no,
you know what we should do? Let's not talk about it now, but we should make that the topic of a full episode.
Oh my God, that would actually be a nerd fight.
Did the Empire do anything wrong? That could be the name of that episode.
I can see that. I can so see that. That's awesome. But no, so tonight, guys, welcome everybody to Nerd Fights. Of course, I am Mr. Know-It-All, and as my awesome best friend and the guy who is really, really leading this entire charge, of course, Salty Trekker.
You don't have to butter me up. It's okay.
He's like, you got the job. Calm down. No,
it's
no, but we're having a good time. Of course, we're streaming on multiple channels, so hopefully you're watching us in all the different places, both on the Nerd Fights channel as well as my own Mr. Know-It-All channel, as well as on my Twitter account. It just says, so hi everybody in the Twitter sphere. And
does the Twitter chat show up in our thing or no?
It should. I don't know if it does or not. I know that our account, we get the count shows up. So when the who's watching, I do see how many people from each channel, and it's pretty. So it's good that it works out that way. Okay. But tonight's show, of course, is going to be all about the Sdcc announcements, all the various ones that came out. We're going to be talking a little bit about, going to talk about all the Star Trek stuff, tons of that going on with a host named Salty Trekker and a guy who has a Star Trek themed channel as well. Trust me, you're going to hear us talk about Star Trek. Yes. We're also going to talk about DC and all the stuff that came out from them. And of course, the big news for Marvel. I'm not going to bury the lead. It's literally the thumbnail picture. But there's a lot of things to talk about today. I know that I myself have never been to Comic-Con. What's the biggest convention you've ever been to, Salty?
The biggest? Oh man, see that's tough. Because I was an old school con goer. Like I was going to Star Trek cons back in the mid '70s.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So when they were something kind of new and weird and different, I'll tell you probably my favorite convention of all time.
Okay.
Was in the early 1980s. And now keep in mind, I grew up in Northern California.
Copy.
And Sonoma County. Sonoma County borders with Marin County. Marin County is where Skywalker Ranch was located.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So I just want you to get an idea of where I was physically.
With you.
Okay, so we had there's a convention. I believe it was Octocon. I could be wrong, but I think that's the one it was. But Octocon was an annual con in the area, and it was a relatively, I mean, by today's standards, it was tiny, but it was a relatively modest convention, a general sci-fi convention.
Right on.
But one of the key speakers was, I'm going to shoot myself for not remembering the guy's name. You would know his name if I said it, but you probably know it when I just tell you what his job was. He was one of the executive producers on pretty much all the Star Wars films. I'm trying to remember who the guy was. You see him in interviews all the time.
Not Kasdan, right?
I'm trying to remember, but this was after Empire, pre-Jedi.
Got it. Okay.
And he was one of the producers on Jedi, and so they were. So he was taking the main stage, and which was pretty cool. and he was talking about, standard stuff about, oh yeah, we've been in production, blah blah blah, and we're getting ready to wrap it up. It'll be coming out in a couple of months, blah blah. And of course, everybody's hoping that we'll get to see a trailer or something like they normally do with these things. And so then he said, but let's get, we need to get something straight from the source. So hold on a second. Hey, George. And then George Lucas comes out, which of course
awesome. Hey, George.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. So crowd goes nuts. And so George said, I've been brought out here just to answer one question. And the question that everybody's been asking for the last few months, why do we change it from Revenge of the Jedi to Return of the Jedi?
Okay.
And so he said, well, I could answer it, but instead what I figured I'd do is we'll show you a little something. And so then they proceed to show us about 2 or 3 minutes of footage.
So they've been doing footage like reveals since back when.
Yeah, except it was done on a film projector.
No, totally legit. Wow.
Yeah. So they showed us about maybe 2 or 3 minutes of footage, and most of it did not have visual effects. And then afterwards, he's the crowd applauded and everything. He says, "So you're gonna know why we changed the title when you see the movie, because nothing you just saw is in the movie."
Oh, okay.
Which was a pretty clever thing. Now, one of the things that was kind of cool was, have you ever noticed, and it's one of those things that you sometimes see on those, did you catch every little thing from whatever kind of videos on YouTube? Yeah. There's a shot of Vader when Luke is hiding underneath the staircase, and Vader's walking around. If you look carefully, you can see while Vader's holding his lightsaber, there's also a lightsaber hanging from his belt.
Okay.
And now that might not be in the Disney-fied version because they corrected some of these things, but if you have a DVD or whatever of Return of the Jedi, look at that scene carefully and you'll see it. All right. Very cool. When Vader is looking around talking to Luke and they're talking back and forth about, you'll see there's a lightsaber hanging on Vader's belt.
That's awesome.
You would understand that if you've seen some of the cut footage.
Absolutely.
Because Luke was jumped into the shadows, and when he first said, "I won't fight you," Vader's you have no choice, blah, blah, blah. And Luke said something to the effect of, "No, I really won't fight you, and there's nothing you can do to change me." And he literally throws the lightsaber to Vader's feet.
That's right.
And then Vader stoops down, picks it up, puts it on his own belt, and continues to look for him, and we get what we saw in the film.
Nice.
Now, one of the things that was cut, that was really the big thing, was that Luke fought the Emperor back a little bit in the lightning scene.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about this.
Yeah, so the Emperor's going, "Yeah, you shall die." And then Luke actually manages to get up, and he pushes back.
He was a great Emperor, by the way.
Yeah. And he pushes back on him. And it's actually, part of it is still in the novelization, or at least it was. And Luke kind of fantasizes in his head about defeating the Emperor, taking the throne, turning the Empire into a benevolent organization, basically putting his peace and order into the new Empire. And then he comes back to his senses, realizes that that's the wrong thing to do, and so he stops fighting.
Wow. I wish I had anything remotely that close to a good story to tell. The biggest convention I ever went to was I've been to MegaCon, which by its name is supposed to be huge in Orlando. And then there used to be a Star Trek convention called Volcon. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, love that name. That's awesome.
Volcon was amazing. And it was the first convention I ever went to. And I remember when we were there, Starfleet, SFI, the Star Trek Fan Club International.
Yes.
They were supposed to have been at this particular convention, and something had happened with their representative who's coming from someplace else, and out of the state. And so they called up my captain at the time on the Star Quest, and they said, "Hey, we need someone to go ahead and can you guys just set up a table? We'll send you all kinds of stuff, whatever else." And because they had the package that was sent for the other people there. So next thing you know, we set up, and we ended up being the actual SFI recruiting table. And my understanding at the time was that we had gotten more people actually to sign up the thing than anybody else at a convention. Most people were just "Hey, we're an organization. Call us if you want." We were dude, sign up right now.
And yeah, the funny thing, people don't realize Starfleet International was a big deal back then.
Yes.
And I mean, now it's, I don't know if does it even still exist?
It exists there.
But yeah, it's a pale shadow of what it used to be.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how seriously they took it. And there was a con in Portland, Oregon, when I was I was actually at the time the vice president of our chapter, and they reached out to our chapter to provide security for Marina Sirtis.
Stop it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And so me and a couple other guys were her actual security at the con.
I love that so much.
And by the way, everybody knows I can't stand her.
Really? That's crazy.
And not because, I mean, she was bubbly and friendly and warm and very pleasant to be around when we were hanging out. However, I can't stand her much after the fact when she started saying things like Star Trek isn't for conservatives and that kind of thing, because I don't understand why you would take that kind of attitude, especially as an actor, because
Right.
you're alienating part of your audience.
Yeah.
But as far as she was a very wonderful, nice person, which is why I don't understand why she would say something like that.
I hear you. Well, luckily, that dovetails us into our very first topic today, which is going to be Star Trek. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Star Trek beam down to San Diego for another exciting Sdcc. Whether you were there on an away team mission or just busy on shore leave, there's a recap highlighting the top moments coming out of that particular convention. And I don't know about you if you saw that, but there was a bunch of interesting things. All right, let's get into talking about
Transitions.
what exactly you like it, right? So, no, but yeah, man. So all the things that came out, this is one that I really want to talk to you about.
Okay.
An actor has been cast for Strange New Worlds specifically, and his name is Cillian O'Sullivan, and he's been cast as the character of Roger Corby.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting. One, for those of you playing at home, Roger Corby is a classic Star Trek character who, this is going to mix with people who've watched Strange New World as well, because we have Nurse Chapel having been Doctor, whatever her name is, Chapel now, Scientist Chapel.
No, she's Nurse. She's called Nurse.
Okay, so she's been,
even though she's clearly a doctor, they call her Nurse Chapel.
I love that so much. Oh, it's awesome. And so she gets sent a message saying that she's been accepted to this residency. It's with Roger Corby. Huge callback to the old show. That's what the graphic is right now. Is the original Dr. Corby, who we in which episode was that, sir?
That was what are little girls made of?
There you go. And so it's an interesting episode about Nurse Chapel. You find out this whole backstory, and so Strange New Worlds is showing the beginning, the inception of those ideas.
Right.
And I'm here for it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll say this. This guy looks more like Corby than any of the casting they've done for anybody else. He looks good. That's great with the side-by-side picture, because I saw the picture of, I don't know if it's Cillian or Cillian, but I saw the picture of him online, and I was like, okay, I'm not 100% sure, but now you put those next to each other, I'm like, oh, crap, it's the same guy.
A younger version.
Yeah. So I'm mixed on it.
Okay.
So don't get me wrong. I knew they were going to do it because they did mention in an interview like last year that they were thinking about bringing Roger Corby into the next season.
Right.
But I don't know how well that's going to gel. I mean, because, well, here's the problem. Are they going to continue to insist that this is the same timeline as the original series?
I don't know, probably.
How far are they going to take this stuff if they're going to keep trying to tell us this? Because
especially when we've had two different shows recently who have outlined time in a very specific way.
Right, because Prodigy and Strange New Worlds, interestingly enough, have both kind of shown the existence of other timelines.
Agreed.
And so So while the relationship is interesting, because we know that Nurse Chapel and Roger Corby are, fall so in love that they are engaged to be married.
Right.
But then he disappears, and that's the only reason she didn't marry him, was because he vanished.
Yep.
And so then she actually, the Enterprise was, happened to be going by where he was, and that's why she wanted to be on the Enterprise.
Right.
And so how, I mean, because the problem with all that is, well, but she was on the Enterprise 7 years earlier.
I think they're trying to give us sort of, they're trying to make history more interesting.
Right.
And I don't know that I needed it, but I know that I didn't either. I'm enjoying the story they're telling so far.
With Strange New Worlds, you mean?
Yeah, with Strange New Worlds. So I'm willing to give them some grace in some of those areas.
Well, anybody that knows me knows that Strange New Worlds is my absolute favorite of the new Trek. And honestly, the only new Trek series that I think fits in the canon of the old Trek as far as this feeling like it's Star Trek.
Agreed. No, absolutely agreed. I told my wife the same thing.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Lower Decks, but Lower Decks feels to me like Star Trek fans poking fun at Star Trek. And, but the other shows just don't feel like Trek at all.
That's fair.
Strange New Worlds feels like Trek to me, and it's experimental like the original series was. Right. It's kind of silly sometimes like the original series was. And I don't mind them bringing in these characters, but they've just got to establish, just say it's a reboot, please. Just say it's a reboot so we can stop getting all hung up on canon.
I agree. No, I absolutely agree with that. My feeling has been since the beginning that I feel like my feeling isn't necessarily that which show feels like Star Trek. I will agree with you. This feels the most like what I have known traditionally Star Trek to feel like.
Yes.
My thing with the others is I'm starting to understand they're trying to tell different types of stories. Now, whether that's going to work out or not, I know that we have a few things coming up to talk about that they've revealed that I do want to dive into because some of the things I question whether they're good ideas or not. So I know that they showed us the trailer or the teaser. It wasn't even a teaser. It was a scene.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes long.
Right. And it was the scene that I've got an image of here where for some reason everybody has to go pose as Vulcans at a thing. And so they used the same kind of DNA altering serum they used in the previous season, and they turn everybody into Vulcans. The internet has exploded about this, the Star Trek world.
Yes.
What is your thoughts? And then I will give you mine.
Okay. So first of all, I actually enjoyed the scene. I know that generally the internet has hated it. But I really liked it. And my thought was, okay, and I'm sure they'll explain it in the episode, but to me, it feels like, okay, in all probability, the reason they're giving themselves this virus as opposed to like we've seen in the original series where they would just like put fake ears on Kirk when he was trying to be a Romulan is that they knew they had to pass some kind of bioscanner.
Okay, that's fair.
And so that would make it like if they didn't have to pass a bioscanner, then it would make no sense for them to not just put fake ears on them.
That's fair. Again, I get it. Right.
However, if they actually have to be able to be scanned as Vulcans, what's the thing to do? Give them a genetic disease that transforms them into a Vulcan. I'm fine with that. Sure. And then zany hijinks ensue when they realize that they can't turn them back. Now, I know where you're going to go with this. The problem is that emotional control is a cultural thing, not a genetic thing.
Right. It's very nurture, not nature.
Yeah. And in fact, like, even though it's not part of this timeline, I love Ben Cross's Sarek when he says that emotions run deep within our people, in many ways deeper than in humans. Logic offers us a serenity that humans don't understand.
Absolutely.
That's the Vulcan way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so why are they suddenly being all super logical? Well, they did it for the brevity of storytelling because what was he going to do? Put them through 10 years of training to be able to be more logical? And if they were just like, honestly, if they didn't do, and who knows, maybe they will have an explanation. Like there could be something in the virus to deaden, like to make them all sociopaths so that they don't feel emotion, which actually that could be interesting.
That's such an interesting take. I hadn't even really thought about that. My feeling was, wouldn't it have been, so I know, first off, as a writer, I can see why they went this direction. My issue isn't that they went this direction. My issue is that, like you said, because the reason you do it is, it's so much funnier now. Now they act this way and it's different and what are they doing? And clearly they're making Spock feel uncomfortable because he's not all Vulcan. But
they are.
Right. And I sit here and I go, wouldn't it have been more interesting to force them to have to now be in these bodies and maybe they're dealing with some heightened emotion stuff because of the Vulcan genetics of the DNA, but now they have to pretend under that context that they are logical and strict and all this. I feel like there's a lot more tension, drama, and even comedy to be drawn from that scenario than there was from the other. That's just, again, my own thought.
Now, I don't know what's in the heads of the writers, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think there's a couple of ways they could play it out. One would be think of Spectre the Gun, where after they have the genetic disease inserted into them, Spock could mind meld with them individually
Wow.
to kind of force them to suppress their emotions, at least temporarily.
Yeah.
The other would be to incorporate something into the disease that suppresses emotion, because there are sociopaths, right? There are people that don't feel the same emotions as everybody else.
My Mrs. Know-It-All with a history in social work with having to do with folks with different dementias diagnoses.
Yeah.
She says there's plenty of things out there to suppress emotions. She
Yes.
sent me a text, and I'm like, yeah. So just like you're saying,
Yeah. So they could have incorporated. Now, the thing that you can kind of tell if you pay attention, like you're an editor, so you I'm sure notice this, is that while it's a 5-minute scene, I don't think it's a 5-minute unbroken scene.
agreed.
There's definitely some stuff that we didn't see.
Right.
And so could it have been a throwaway line about the emotional suppressant? Could it have been something like a scene where Spock does the mind meld thing? Absolutely. And so so on that part, I'm going to reserve judgment till I see the episode.
That's fair.
If they just say, we're going to make you like Vulcans, give you a shot, and then they all don't have emotions, I am going to cry foul of that. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to hate the episode.
No, okay. All right. So next, Lower Decks did also give, on your favorite show, did also give a teaser. Specifically, though, they're going to be, season 5 is going to premiere with 2 episodes, October 24th. That was the big reveal of the date.
Yes.
But then also they gave us a teaser. The teaser had the really interesting, it was every season, as much as I'm sure you have followed, even if you like it or not.
No, I love Lower Decks.
There's they usually model their teasers or pitch for the season around a show, as a movie rather. Last time it was The Voyage Home, and now we have Star Trek 6. They've based the whole thing with that whole narration, and you see the scenes.
Oh yeah, when they showed the saucer section and all the little clips there, I did literally bust out laughing.
So for me, Star Trek 6 was my first in the movie theater Star Trek movie. When I got recruited into SFI, it was literally at the not Generations. Another one had just something that was out. It was a sci-fi movie, and so they were there. And they invited me to come see the next week Star Trek 6. And so I saw it in movie theaters, and I love everything about that. So it really hit home for me.
Right. And, the thing about the Lower Decks trailer is that they don't, we get little snippets of funny moments. We don't really know, like, is there going to be a season-long arc, or is this just going to be, zany antics of the Cerritos? But I did love the fact that they parodied the Star Trek 6 promo. That was just so awesome to me.
It was great.
Join them for one final adventure, and then like, wait, what do you mean final adventure?
It's good stuff. No, it really is. Next, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is probably a good transition to some Tawny Newsome.
There it is.
Yeah.
So I have heard now, again, this is the one that I want to talk about because this is the one that I may have feelings about. I don't know yet.
You may have feelings.
I say that because I'm usually pretty accepting. For instance, I was able to find my way to understand what Discovery was. Whether or not you like it or whether it's good or whatever else, I understand what they're doing, which is it's one person's story, unlike all other Star Trek before it.
Right.
So now you have Lower Decks came out. It's the Rick and Morty, if you will, or even Futurama of Star Trek. And so now Tawny Newsome and Justin Simeon are putting together it's a comedy. I'll just read the premise here. Federation outsiders serving a gleaming resort planet find out their day-to-day exploits are being broadcast to the entire quadrant. So it feels like it's a difference between, it's like Truman Show meets The Office.
Or is it or like it's almost like maybe Survivor or
Ooh, I could see that.
yeah,
I totally could see that take.
yeah, yeah. So
So what do you think?
okay, I didn't hear the premise before you just saying that, and I'm not sold on it.
Okay. See, I'm like, all I see is like Risa and people
Right.
acting like they're uncomfortable at the camera.
Yeah, there's
Or-
only two places I know. There's Risa and Wrigley's Pleasure Planet, right? And
Correct.
Wrigley's Pleasure Planet we never saw.
No.
But yeah, well, and then there's whatever the name of the planet is from Wolf in the Fold.
Oh, right.
But and we strip club planet according to Kirk apparently. But you know, I don't know. That just seems so antithetical to Trek. I mean, it could be a fun show, but I think it's going to feel about as much like Trek as the Section 31 trailer did.
Which we'll get to that too. But
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's like I sit here and I go, have I ever thought to myself, I wonder what these other corners of the Star Trek universe are like? And because for me, what attracted me to it was from the Earth's perspective, meaning because we're the, so to speak, the centerpiece of Starfleet and the Federation, because
Right.
whatever. It's like the reason why America is always where aliens land. Trust me. And so I feel like, have I ever wanted to see the other? And I thought Prodigy kind of covered that ground pretty well, showing us the Star Trek universe from an alien perspective. I feel like this can only go be really goofy, and just border, if you're not careful, on disrespectful. And that's me holding Star Trek up on a pedestal that I don't know that necessarily needs to be up on. And I'm always gonna enter these things very open minded. So
I'll see it with an open mind, but I'm just saying, like, when I hear this premise, I'm not like, oh, that sounds great.
Agreed.
You know,
Same.
I'm just like, huh? This is a Star Trek show, right? You know, that's kind of what doesn't mean it's. I mean, because Tawny Newsom's been great as Beckett.
Oh, she's wonderful.
You know, and is she playing Beckett or is she playing another character?
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, because she has played live action Beckett on Strange New World, you know, so
or is she just producing? I think she's supposed to be in it.
Yeah, but you see, like, I wanted to see a Beckett and Boimler live action series. That's what I would.
So I would have all day. Unless, of course, Jack Quaid's just too expensive now because he's in everything.
Yes,
the man's been in Oppenheimer and The Boys. It's like, and more stuff than that. It's like, really, but yeah, we'll see. Oh, look at you.
Yes, she's decided that it's her show now. So
nice.
Yeah, she attaches herself to my chin like this, and like you can't tell from there, but she's pushing her head back into my chin like as hard as she can.
All right. Well, real quick, then, while you're doing that, I'm gonna go back to a question that was asked. Let's see. So the Trek reviewer asked, I just wonder who's going to play Yeoman Rand if she does show up in Strange New Worlds. I should have brought this up sooner, but we were on a roll. But I wanted to come back and revisit that question because it's actually a pretty good question. I don't necessarily know that I know who could play Yeoman Rand, but because they're really good at bringing newer talent in.
Right. I would hope it would be an unknown.
Agreed.
Because I don't want to see star-studded Trek. Like, I know that some people thought Michelle Yeoh was awesome, but honestly, I thought Michelle Yeoh was fine in the premiere of Discovery, but evil Michelle Yeoh from the Mirror Universe was absolutely horrible to me, because now the Federation has basically someone that makes Hitler look like a puppy, working for them, and that no, so. I didn't.
I feel like they were piggybacking on the concepts or the thoughts in Into Darkness,
right.
the 2009 Kelvin verse movies too,
right?
And so the second movie of theirs, which was their really bad Wrath of Khan, and but the wrong way, and the Wrathful Khan, if you will. And so I feel like that was the thought process was, hey, let's show you think different than us and the whole thing. And I'm like, my issue with the...
But that's not that's the antithesis of Star Trek.
Right. Hang on, I'm skipping this. We'll come back to that. Since we're talking about Section 31, I want to go to Section 31.
Yes. Because, with Section 31 in particular, but also it all involves bringing in star power just for star power's sake.
I agree with that. I agree.
Michelle Yeoh is a fine actress, and I'm certainly not dissing her.
Academy Award winner.
Yes. Hey, I've loved her since Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Absolutely.
And I think she's great. But that doesn't mean just because she's a big star that I want to see her in Star Trek. You know, like I don't like. Honestly, I'd never seen Anson Mount in anything before he showed up as Pike, and I'm glad about that.
Oh, he was.
I know
missed nothing.
Yeah.
He was in that horrible show for Marvel Marvel TV.
Right, he was blackballed. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Inhumans.
I never saw the Inhumans.
So bad.
But
So bad.
yeah, I knew he played Black Bolt because, of course, he reprised the role for Doctor Strange.
He's also been a bit of a character actor in that he played like this Guido-y Italian mafia guy in Mr. Right.
Okay.
And so I remember because I'm watching going, I know this guy. Who is this guy? And I had to wait to they had him made up. Like he looked Jersey Shore all day. Like the tan, the mullety hair, the whole 9 yards. And then to see him when I'm like, Anson Mount. He's amazing. But now it's so funny seeing him in his day-to-day. If you ever watch his Instagram, he's Pike all day. That hair, the whole 9 yards, like he literally is.
And by the way, I did love the fact that the Vulcan Pike had the hair standing straight up. That was hilarious.
I thought that was too funny for words.
But Anson Mount, not a A-list celebrity. Michelle Yeoh is very close to that, and so especially since she was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, she was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's been in a couple serious films.
Yeah.
And I don't want, like, I'm fine with the fact that William Shatner's entire career revolves around James T. Kirk. I really am. Patrick Stewart, while he was in some stuff outside of TNG, most of it was relatively obscure sci-fi. Now, I know some people say, wait a minute, Dune's not obscure. It absolutely is to the normies.
It was super obscure.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, and Excalibur, he was one of the Knights of the Round Table,
but he was basically evil Picard with a goatee in that.
Yes. But he wasn't like someone that you say, oh yeah, Patrick Stewart. You'd say, Patrick Stewart, who's that?
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed.
And so that's what we need in Star Trek, because these people need to be known for their characters, not for their celebrity.
And I agree with that, or at the very least, become celebrities because of the character. Like,
right? Because that's fine. If the show's successful and they become like big stars, awesome.
So here we go. Now I have two issues with this story. I'm going to read it as is. I'm not reading it as is. I'm just going to express it.
Okay. So
they have announced new cast members are joining Starfleet Academy, which, by the way, I'm excited for a Starfleet Academy show in its overall concept. I've wanted to see what the Academy world looks like in many, many ways and in a lot of times. And so what I thought is interesting was the story was official. It was legacy cast members joined Starfleet Academy. Can we call Discovery cast people legacy? And
no, they're contemporary.
I was going to say, I always assumed legacy meant like TNG and that era rather back.
Right.
So like Voyager, DS9 and whatnot.
And is it Enterprise back?
Well, it's like nobody calls Doctor Who pre-2005 just
classic Doctor Who.
No, that's classic. They don't call the 2005 and forward classic.
Right.
I don't know. By the way, that isn't a dig. I think these are wonderful actors. I just feel like I don't know that they've earned that place.
No, and I think what's going on, honestly, and I hate to say this, but it's just the truth. I think Paramount is trying to give them the weight and celebrity that Picard or that Patrick Stewart or William Shatner or something like that would bring. By saying legacy cast member, that's what people think of, right? And so then you find out, oh no, it's the girl that's playing Tilly or whatever. It's like, okay, But yeah, so anyway, so it says legacy cast members coming back.
Yeah. Legacy cast members coming back. They're going to be in Starfleet Academy. Of course, we see Robert Picardo, who plays the Doctor from Voyager. He will be, I'm assuming he's going to be the same hologram Doctor, just 300 years in the future, rock on. Tig Notaro is going to be an actual regular as well. And then the other two in the middle who plays the Admiral and Tilly. I don't remember the Admiral's name right this second. But those two people.
Who, by the way, I loved him in The Mummy.
He was wonderful in The Mummy.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah.
But they're just going to be recurrings or have guest spot. They're not going to be regulars like the other two. So Tig Notaro is going to become
and
a regular.
Robert Picardo, they're going to be
Picardo,
regulars. Okay.
Which I'm like, okay.
Well, the Robert Picardo thing, I didn't know about him until you just said this. But so my first reaction to Robert Picardo is, wait, so he's playing an old hologram now?
Yeah. That's a great. Oh, imagine, watch that be the first thing they do, because that's what Star Trek does when it comes to stuff like they're the newer Trek. They're going to address it real fast. He's going to be like, "Well, I felt like it would be better to understand what it was like to blah blah blah." And so I show my wisdom through my years, and you're like, "Stop it."
Yeah. Yeah.
Bottom line, he's an old guy now.
I even gave myself a touch of arthritis.
Right. No, totally. Let's see. Darth Maul says Voyager episodes Living Witness had the backup EMH that was 700 years or more retiring back to the Federation. That's a great poll, Darth Maul. Thank you, sir. Do you remember that?
No.
I know. Super. I mean, I'm telling you, that's the sweaty kind of people we got. I love you guys. I love you because you guys are like us. Like, you know everything, and that's awesome. Right. But all right. So what? All
right. So when I look at this cast, I say, yeah, that's a cast. You know, I like Robert Picardo, and Tig had a couple of funny moments, but overall, I just, I'll be honest with you. I kind of refer to his character as Janet. Hey, everybody, I'm a lesbian Reno.
I hate you so much. I love Tig. Oh my gosh,
I did not care for her.
Fun.
And
because I love that. That's a personality type we've very rarely, if at all, seen.
But it didn't feel. The problem is it felt like she was hamming it up for the camera as opposed to that was just her. And it's a subtle difference. But if somebody is just constantly, my God, my back hurts so much, and I'm just like, okay, I'm done. You can only whine about it so much before I don't care.
So my feeling, I guess, is that I feel like Tig's character for me, because now that you say it the way you did, I'm trying to think fast of how I felt about it. She always felt like she was not in the show. Right. Like she always felt like she was somebody who from like a different world entirely. And I'm not even talking about in a sci-fi
she was just like dropped into it.
Like everybody speaks a certain way.
Right.
And I'm not talking formally, but I just mean they all sound like you're from this universe. The words don't sound weird. They don't sound awkward. She always sounded like just some person.
She sounded like a whiny person in
from like today.
Yeah.
And so, man, I don't know. But
and so now, as far as Admiral Vance, I liked him. We didn't get enough of him, in my opinion, in Discovery, and so unfortunately, if he's just a reoccurring role, we probably won't get enough of him in Academy either. But so we're going to probably get Tig Overload. And
Tig Overload, I love that.
Yes, Captain, the Tig is at 112%. We can't take any more.
No, for sure.
And Picardo, hey, I love Robert Picardo. So if he brings his A game, awesome.
It's fair.
And even as yes, if he's playing the Doctor, then yes, it doesn't make a lot of sense that he's old. I think that he should play a new character, if depending, because it's not like there couldn't be somebody else. He could be a distant relative of Zimmerman, and because think about it, how many people has Brent Spiner played, that have been in the Sung family tree.
They just made that point in the comment section, by the way. I've been watching you guys. Yeah. They were literally having that conversation out there, which is that how old can certain characters look or appear to look, and that's now of course we have this new fused data in Picard season 3 who's
and Creep says Q played old Q and died. Yes, but old Q when he first appeared looked like young Q, and then he says, "Oh, you've aged, Picard. Here, let me help you out." And then he made himself look like old Q.
He absolutely did.
Yeah. Now that I actually predicted that he would do that, and I got to say that's the way to do it with Q.
Absolutely.
But with the Doctor, it wouldn't make sense because it's not like he's looking at 1,200-year-old Janeway in front of him. He's so it's like,
That's awesome.
why would he age himself?
No, I agree. So one last thing, it's not on our list, and that's why I brought us back to the 2 screen. But I know that Star Trek Las Vegas starts tomorrow.
Okay.
And I wish it's one of those things where I would love for us to go to a convention someday and either broadcast from the show or something like that. But I want to go to something Star Trek because that's some of my fondest convention memories. I know that we're talking about SDC, which is, by the way, in the comments, San Diego Comic-Con. Right. And all these big announcements came out from it. So, but I feel like I would love to do something like that.
Well, there's a big con that is coming to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the city I live in, next month. But unfortunately, I can't afford to go. So it's, I mean, you can go and I'll stand outside and say, "Hey, was it cool?"
Nice.
Anson Mount, by the way, and most of the cast of Strange New Worlds will be there.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up. Hold on, Mrs. Know-It-All. I know you're watching. Get on that. Find out what it takes for us to go.
It's Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Anson Mount, and I know that I can't remember her name. The young lady that's playing Uhura, I think.
Yeah,
she's going to be there. The Chung, who plays Khan's great granddaughter or whatever, La'an. She's going to be there, but I know her last name is Chong, but I can't remember her first name now.
Oh, dude, in default, I go to their Star Trek character.
Yeah. I've tried not to, but it's like, yeah. But pretty much the whole cast from Strange New Worlds is going to be there.
I want to do that. I want to see them so bad.
Oh, I would love to go.
Dude, I'll go in full Pike hair. You don't understand. You saw my hair today. That's why I'm wearing the hat.
Hey, you know how long my hair, I could comb my hair straight up and say I'm Uber Pike.
You're Vulcan Pike with the ears on.
Oh man, that would be awesome because I do shave the sides of my head. So I don't know how, I'd have to put glue in my hair or something to get it because it would stand up like a good foot. And so have it go straight up, put the ears on. That would be so awesome.
That's so great.
But yeah, I would love to go to that con.
If I picture right now.
Oh, the con?
She said, yeah, she's coming for it.
I think it's actually a Comic-Con event, but I'm not 100% sure.
It's our anniversary weekend.
How much do you love him?
She's
like, not that much.
Oh, you lie. My wife's a real one. She said, we are going.
Oh, that's so
We're going to make that happen.
Well, then,
we'll come visit. We'll do the.
Yeah, we'll have to have lunch or something, in between you getting to see all the people I wish I could see. Jerk. But that's awesome, though. If you guys are going, that's awesome. There's a small con in Kentucky that, do you know who Trek Yards is?
Yeah.
Okay. So Captain Foley goes to this little con in Kentucky every year, and he keeps trying to get me to go so we can meet up, and I keep not being able to go. But I swore to him no matter what happened, I would go next year. And the thing about that con is it's small, it's intimate, and it has like model makers and
awesome.
and VFX guys. It's not like big A-list celebrities. It's more the people that make the magic happen.
Which is actually really cool if you think about it.
Yeah. And so you may not know this, but Foley himself is actually a master model maker. Which
I didn't know that.
Yes, and that's why, I don't know if you know this, but he's talked to pretty much every ship designer from Star Trek, So, and a lot of them show up, they'll bring the models that they built for different shows and stuff like that, and they actually had a model making contest there, So
very cool. All right, so continuing on with our SDCC coverage, or recap, if you will, DC Comics unveiled several exciting updates, including panels for upcoming animated series like Batman Cape Crusader, which promises to reimagine the Dark Knight's mythology. Additionally, fans of Superman and Lois were given an exclusive look at the final season, which is set to premiere also October of 24. So clearly a whole lot of things going on that are you a big DC fan at all, or have you been? Not
as big as Marvel. I mean, my comic book collection is about 80% Marvel.
That's fair.
And so, just to put things in perspective.
Yeah.
So when I saw that new Batman trailer for the new series, it's basically just parts of the opening credits. I thought that it looks good. It looks like it looks almost like Batman the Animated Series in black and white.
It absolutely does.
And so I'm looking forward to it. And so we'll see what they do with it. Batman is a great character when taken seriously. He's a horrible character when he's not.
Absolutely, and I tell you what, Kevin Conroy, the last voice, the first, last, and original voice actor, in my opinion, the definitive voice that I hear in my head when I read Batman comics. He took it so serious.
And look at Creep's comment. I guess
it was what's Creep saying?
Last.
Oh, really? This is too much.
I just Creep, you are too much, buddy.
Absolutely.
So that show actually looks interesting to me. I will definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, same.
So the trailer they gave for that new animated film, the Creature, what's it called?
Creature Commandos.
Creature Commandos. That just looks like, okay, it's James, because it is James Gunn, right?
Sure.
James Gunn, of course, did Guardians of the Galaxy, and
it feels like him all day.
And he did the Suicide Squad movies.
Yep.
This just feels like, okay, it's the Suicide Squad, but monsters.
100%. And that's what it is.
Right. I know. They even have Amanda Waller. And Flag.
This is Task Force M, as in monster. Which I was like, okay, I get it.
I get it, but it seems way too... I mean... Are they going to try to take this seriously? Is it going to be a straight up comedy? How
I think it's as serious as you can take a primetime Batman the Animated Series.
This is going to be out on HBO Max as a movie, if my understanding.
Is it? I thought it was a series. Oh, it's a movie?
I thought it was a movie. At least that's the way I understood it. And if it's a movie, it would. I mean, I don't know. It's just. And even if if it's supposed to be silly and funny, but if I remember correctly, because I'm getting my trailers mixed up, don't they drop some language in there?
Yes, but because it's on Prime, whatever, or cable. Oh my gosh, cable! It's on cable.
Yeah.
I
get it. It's on Max.
Right.
But I'm not saying they can't drop language in it. I'm saying that look at that picture. That looks like a kids show. You see my problem?
I don't necessarily know. Looking at a kid's show, I think they've chosen a very.
You don't think that image that you have on the screen right now looks like it should be for a kid's show?
I don't know. Matt's an awfully sexy female character in front for a kid show. If you look at the kid shows today, I don't know. They're different than kid shows when we grew up.
But look at everything else on the screen.
I hear you. The goofy-looking weasel guy, the obvious clear Frankenstein analog. Yeah.
Well, and she is the bride of Frankenstein. I mean,
she's
that's her character.
Right.
And they even have a castle in the background, and it's colorful, and it's like it's like pushing the line for me.
Says the guy who watched the animated Star Trek show.
Well, first of all, Lower Decks, I agree. Well, first of all, I'll say this: season 3 of Lower Decks, I was very vocal about my disdain. Because they took the sexual gags way too far in that season.
They really did.
Yeah, and so, but then they immediately toned it down for season 4, and I was happy again.
Right.
I don't, the thing about the Lower Decks is, except for season 3, if a kid watched it, they would just not get it.
I agree with that 100%.
All right, so, but if you're dropping F-bombs, I don't know.
See, I like what Bradley Briggs here says. He says it's very Castlevania looking. Castlevania is an animated series on Netflix, and it's based on the old video games. And that's more considered anime. Like Netflix is really trying to go that anime route,
right?
And that might be the case too here. And I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a child's cartoon. I think it maybe seems like a young adult cartoon, or even a primetime adult series, animated series.
Right. Well, like I said, I'll have to wait and see. I'll see it. I'll watch it when it comes out on Max, because I have Max.
Right.
So I will definitely watch it. I'm interested, but that's just my, I don't like the fact that more and more people are trying to basically make kid-friendly adult content.
Right. I feel like that line being blurred is a little too much.
Right. And in fact, I'll tell you, true. This morning, so the wife and I had a little technical snafu with our AMC movie subscription.
Sure.
Right? And the problem is, and look, I love the product itself. If you don't know AMC, you can for $20 a month you can see basically all the movies.
We have it.
And yeah, and it's a great service. I love it. However, if you have even the slightest problem, there is no customer service. And when I say there's no customer service, I mean, if you look on Google right now and find their phone number and dial it, you'll hear a recording telling you to go to the website, and that's it. There is no customer service.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, you know what? We can't get this resolved. We're going to the theater.
I will tell you. Go ahead. Keep going.
And the manager was a really nice guy. I will tell you what. Honestly, should have, knowing what I know about customer service work, what should have been about a 2-minute problem ended up taking him over an hour to take care of, but he was really nice and got it done. All right. So that manager, props to him. If you're ever in Murfreesboro, go to the Stones River Mall, the AMC theater there. They're awesome. The general manager there was really nice. Really, I don't remember his name. African American dude. He's really nice. And Kyle was the dude just working at the counter, and he was cool too. We were talking about stuff. But while we're there, this woman comes up, and she's got with her a whole flock of kids, right? And
oh, I love that so much.
I mean, she's got I think like 5 kids.
She's got a whole rugby team. Okay, like the whole.
Yeah. She's got like 5 kids with her, and they're obviously her grandchildren,
right?
Based on age and all that. The kids are generally look like they're between like about 6 and maybe 12 years old.
Okay.
And so they're going to the movies, right? And so Kyle explains to her that she can just go and use the little kiosk thing to get her tickets. And the kids start saying, "Let's see Deadpool. Let's see Deadpool." And I looked over and I was like, I can't not say anything. And I said, "No, you do not want to see Deadpool." And the little boy, the youngest one, was, "But I want to see Deadpool." I said, "No, you know what? It's actually not very good."
That's awesome.
But I looked at the lady. And I said, "Oh, you don't want to see." And then she looked at Kyle, the employee there,
right. And
Kyle was like, "Yeah, you don't want to take them to Deadpool." And so they went to see Despicable Me. So
there you go.
And she was just like, "Well, I don't feel like a superhero movie, so let's go see." But
let's go see Inside Out 2 again.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Deadpool and Wolverine. I love that movie. We talked about it. I absolutely love the movie. That being said, the biggest problem with Deadpool and Wolverine is it's an MCU film, and every MCU film up to this point has been PG-13. And so parents are like, "Oh, yeah, it's the next MCU movie. Let's take our kids to see it." And now, while some people will probably immediately leave the theater after about the first 30 seconds, there are other parents that will simply, say, "Well, it's a little bit much, but I'm sure they can handle it."
Sure.
And I don't think that's healthy.
Agreed. No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
All right.
And ABJ, the other Deadpool movies were not MCU films.
Oh, that's true. They weren't.
Yeah, so they were Fox.
Agreed.
Which was a joke in this movie, of course, about Fox getting pruned. So,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. All right, so last question about DC before we kind of continue to move on. What do you think about? Did you ever watch Superman and Lois?
No, the show never grabbed me, and so
funny enough, I did briefly. I watched the first 2 seasons. And then they went on a brief hiatus because the kid who played his oldest son, for some reason, just decided for his own whatever, and it wasn't anything negative. There was no drama. He put out a statement on this thing saying he wanted to depart. I never jumped back on after that, and so it as a tangentially connected to the Arrowverse, which itself ended or had this sunsetted.
So this is supposedly in the same universe as Arrow and Flash and all that.
Yes, because it's like you don't really know because I think they've mentioned like loosely they've made aspersions to that stuff, but for the most part it's its own thing. But it's ending, and obviously it's ending. There's a lot of negativity about DC doesn't want more Superman out there than whatever. Even though David Cornsweet himself, our current Superman, sent a really nice letter to Tyler Hoechlin, kind of telling him, "Hey man, thank you so much. You've been one of the iconic." And I think he was. I love Tyler Hoechlin's take on Superman at this stage of his life.
This guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyler Hoechlin played Superman he's married to Lois. They have 2 kids who are in high school, and it's sort of this and then they had a bunch of adventures, quote unquote, out of time in terms of like when they should have happened, but it's okay. I
know that I saw something about like Doomsday was in the show.
So they did it right, and they waited till like now. Like he's dead. It ended last season. Big spoilers. It ended last season with him dead.
Or with the death of Superman, basically.
Yes, and so we're starting in a world with no Superman this 5th season. And so we'll see where that goes. Mind you, I have not been watching. I've just been keeping track of what's the news talks about. So anyways, it's did you ever have any kind of connection to the DC CW stuff at all?
I watched Arrow and Flash for a few years.
Right on.
The problem was that and I watched Smallville all the way through, which I know was a precursor to the Arrowverse. But
It was.
The problem is the writing just felt so immature. And when I say that, I don't mean like potty humor or something like that. I mean that it felt like it was Gilmore Girls, except with capes. It was
100%.
Yeah,
it's in my opinion what solidified the idea of CW shows.
Yes, and so
high drama.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I'm not into that. For superheroes, I want to see, like, you know what I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to, when we get to the Marvel stuff, the Thing and the Hulk go in a few rounds. That's, I want to see that more than anything else. So that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy. Not, oh gosh, does he really love me? I don't know. And that was one of my big problems with Star Trek Discovery, was they got too much into the Gilmore Girls drama there. And, and in fact, I made this whole thing about, like, at the beginning of season 3, when Tilly was freaking out about how much she missed Michael, when in actuality she saw him earlier that same day.
That's fair.
Because, you're not taking into account Michael's been in the future for like 18 months, but the crew of Discovery got there like the same day that Michael shows up, so it's like,
right on.
And she's like, "Oh, I miss. I never thought I'd see her." And it's like, you just saw her. No. So I don't like the Gilmore Girls crap. So that's been the big turnoff for me on every DC television show.
So right now, I guess my big question is, like, what is your level of hype in general for DC going forward? I know you said you've always been more of a Marvel person,
right?
I know for me, I'm excited, but what are you thinking?
No, the opposite. I'm very pessimistic about DC.
Really?
I think that the worst thing they ever did was decide to have Peter or James Gunn run the thing and to oust Zack Snyder.
All right, hold on. Clearly, you know what? We need to change environments for this. Give me 1 second, because as far as I'm concerned, we need to hear about this.
All right. So here's my thing. I liked Man of Steel a lot.
Okay.
I know a lot of people hated that movie. I didn't. Okay. And I really liked Batman v Superman. Granted, I do agree that they tried to cram too much into one movie, but I thought what they did was a lot of fun, was really enjoyable, and I thought Ben Affleck was the single best Caped Crusader we have ever seen on film, period.
I'll go with that.
All right.
I loved Ben Affleck as Batman, right. Absolutely.
Wonder Woman was a solid entry. All right. I'm not saying it was great, but it was a really solid movie. I liked it a little better when it was called Captain America: The First Avenger, but it was still a good movie. So, and then we got to the debacle of Justice League. And now the bad thing about Justice League was just that the tragedy in Snyder's life, and that's not his fault.
No.
I'm not going to rag on Snyder about that. But bringing in Joss and telling him, make a totally different movie out of this, was not only an insult to Zack Snyder, but it ruined the film.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
Yeah. The Snyder cut was brilliant.
Very good.
I love the Snyder cut. And so if they had continued on with that dark gritty tone. I would have really liked the fact that, hey, when I want my fun, snappy comic superhero stuff, I'll watch a Marvel movie. When I want my dark and gritty, serious bare knuckle fighting, I'll watch my DC. And that's what should be. We shouldn't have two universes that are the same.
Agreed. No, I agree. I absolutely agree with that.
Now, bringing the guy that brought us Guardians of the Galaxy over and saying, now you get the whole universe, we're just going to get Marvel 2.0.
Okay, so now it's my turn.
Yeah.
Here's
Counter.
my hot take.
Wait, you got to start with salty, you ignorant slut. No.
My thing is this. Whether but from a creative standpoint and a fan standpoint, I get everything you said. I really do. I understand every point you made. I like to go down to the math, and here the math is James Gunn has not failed yet, and by that I mean he if not even Marvel, he gets all my goodwill at this point in time.
Sure.
Because here's the thing, I liked the Guardians vibe. I think the Guardians vibe does kind of fit the Suicide Squad sort of feel. I feel like he's doing Superman completely differently. Now, I do agree with you. Monster Creature Commandos looks very much like that kind of cut from that cloth, but the guy knows how to tell a story. And in my opinion, you got to give him credit.
But here's the problem. Tell me a DC property that we've seen anything of that James Gunn is involved in that doesn't look like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, he's only been involved in one so far. And we see Creature.
Yeah, but it just looks like it. Okay, so the Suicide Squad was Guardians of the Galaxy, but R-rated.
Yeah,
and now we have the Creature
Commandos.
Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, but monsters. All right. And so are we going to get the Justice League as just Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're DC characters? Or is it going to be something different? Everything. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Gunn is a bad filmmaker. I'm not saying he's a bad writer. I would say just the opposite. And in fact, I understand how he writes, and I love the way that he writes.
Right.
Because for those of you that don't know, he comes up with the music first. Like and that's why the music was so important in his movies. So like with Guardians of the Galaxy, he's like, let me find some music that I like, and then he'll play that song over and over and over as he writes the scene that song is set to.
Very common practice for people who think that way.
Right. Gunn does it very well.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I don't want that to be a whole universe. I'm okay with it being Guardians, but I don't want it to be Guardians and Iron Man and Hulk and I want it to just be Guardians.
Sure.
And so if DC is now going to just become Guardians of the DC universe.
See, but the thing is, nothing about Superman right now that we've seen, nothing at all is telling us or showing us.
But we haven't seen any actual footage. We've seen pictures. We've seen, and that's the problem. Like
there's a vibe in general though that doesn't feel like it. Like you see Lois, you see all the. Let's just look at the ancillary characters. Mm-hmm. None of them are stylized. They look like their comic book counterparts, which I love.
But if you look at Suicide Squad, they look like their comic book characters.
Yes and no.
Whoa! You just faded into weirdness there.
Sorry, that's why I moved my headphones. Is because the microphone wants to act goofy.
Okay, but yeah. So and again, I'm not opposed to like if James Gunn wanted to leave Marvel over the bad feelings with Disney, I totally get that because that was some messed up stuff that Disney did. As far as firing him.
Because that being said,
if he comes over to DC and he was then in charge of the Suicide Squad franchise, totally good. I'm just not sold that he is a Kevin Feige. I'm not sold that he is their answer to Kevin Feige. Now, he may be. I'm not saying it's not possible. But I'm just saying, like you say, where's your hype level going into this? I've seen a guy who's made film after film after film after film that feels like the same flavor of film. And so can he break that mold? I don't know. It's like, think about it.
Okay, it's fair. Your thoughts are fair. I don't necessarily know that I agree with you, but I see where your reasoning comes from.
Think about any major Steven Spielberg project from the 70s to early 80s, right?
Okay.
They all have the same tone.
Absolutely.
They all have bright lights, film noir, usually aliens or something. There are certain things that you can recognize a Spielberg film a mile away.
Sure.
So if you said, Spielberg, you get to be in charge of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and all of a sudden every Marvel movie had bright lights and I'd be like, I don't necessarily, because Kevin Feige was never a director. He was a producer.
Absolutely.
And so I'm not sold that James Gunn is the right choice. That being said, I will see it with an open mind. I'm looking forward to whatever the new Superman is, but I'm really mad that they got rid of what I thought was an excellent Superman. I'm really mad that they got rid of the best Batman of all time.
That I know about. All right, no, that's fair. Hey, thank you very much for that that
Sorry.
hot takes.
Yeah, all right,
no, that hot take was great. I loved it. That was amazing.
Take my blood pressure medication now.
Let's go. It's time finally for the coup de grace, the big cherry on this entire thing, which is Marvel, which Marvel was the big thing at the end of all this. Marvel had a very strong presence with teasers for upcoming projects, including the highly anticipated Fantastic Four movie. The studio even used drones to create a really cool sky thing, hinting at the arrival of Galactus and whatnot. The Cosmic Entity is set to who's going to be a major role.
I didn't hear about the drone thing. I didn't.
Oh yeah, the drone thing was dope. I wish I could have found a video of it quickly enough, but I didn't think that far ahead. Forgive me. But it was really neat. It looked like this giant Galactus head coming up out of the horizon, and then it transframes into different things. Yeah, they did a good job. That was pretty awesome.
I've seen drone light shows before, but I didn't know that they did anything specifically for this. So that's cool.
Oh yeah.
All right. So what do you want to talk about first?
Let's go. No, go ahead. Let's go to the very first thing. That's obviously Kevin Feige kind of introducing things, and the first thing he introduced was the Captain America: Brave New World. We got to see the crew, the cast, Harrison Ford being his Harrison Fordiest.
Yes,
and because he really is, that guy is a gem.
They had fun on stage. They
true
did.
Gem. He really is great.
So I'll say this. The trailer's already dropped for Brave New World.
Yes.
And
we talked about it on the show.
Yes. And so to me, and ABJ, we'll talk about Doom in a minute. Don't worry.
Okay.
That was the last thing they announced, though.
Yeah.
So I say this. It feels like, and I'm I could be wrong, but I hope I'm not. It feels like this is a return to form for Marvel. The Brave New World trailer really evoked feelings of Winter Soldier for me.
Yes. And Kevin Feige said that was the intent. They wanted to go back to that type of thought process.
Right. And so where you have, the Captain America dealing with the reality that the government isn't as shiny and happy as he'd like it to be. Right. Now, some people might be saying, Salty, you hypocrite. You were just complaining about Starfleet being like that. That's because it's Starfleet, and Starfleet is supposed to be optimistic.
That's right.
Marvel, the superheroes are optimistic, but they don't live in an optimistic world.
No, a very pessimistic world, in fact.
Yeah.
But they have to hold the torch.
But that's what makes them heroes.
Right.
That's why I didn't hate Man of Steel, is because even though Superman could have been more like the classic Superman himself was optimistic, but he lived in a very bad world.
Agreed. I'll go with that.
So I was okay with that. But same thing here. So this feels a lot like Winter Soldier 2.0. I know that I'm sure the reason they're releasing it is in February is because Black History Month and Captain America is now black. I hope it makes that's think about it. They've released both.
Black 100%. Yeah, no, that's totally the reason. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I find it humorous because that's the reason. Yeah. Though everybody wants to pretend like it's not.
Yeah, because the thing is,
that's the reason.
Right, because some people will say, "Oh, the studio must not have confidence in the film because usually February is where you send films to die." However, Marvel has had billion-dollar hit movies in February.
Oh yeah, it's real.
And so Black Panther, the first one, was an insane hit.
It really was.
And so I'm hoping that this one is as well. I think the reason Black Panther 2 misfired was because they did not recast Black Panther.
100%. Yeah. Oh my gosh, they absolutely should have.
Yeah, but this
ABJ says I'm good with Captain Falcon. Seems a cool arc.
You know what? I kind of, I know they did it in the comic books, and some people were pissed off about it because, they're just making Captain America black. You know what? it's if you take an established character, which Sam in the comics, keep in mind that Sam is the second black superhero to ever appear in comic books.
It's true.
The first, also a Marvel character, was Black Panther. And the third, also a Marvel character, was, I believe, Luke Cage.
Right.
But Sam was in the comic books all the way back to the 60s. He was and so he was always Captain America's buddy. And they were good friends.
He was kind of Bucky 2.0 in the present after Cap was out of ice,
which is kind of what they did in the MCU as well.
Right.
And so if Cap is going to pass the shield along to anybody, some people said, well, he should have given it to Bucky. Bucky is literally unstable.
No, I know, but that's and also they've actually talked. You're right, by the way. They've talked about it, and I think you're 100% right. That's the reason, probably in the movie, why you don't do it. They've also talked about it a little bit. They wanted to do something that we, as the audience, wouldn't expect, and I think we were all expecting that Bucky was going to potentially get the shield, because in the comics that happens too.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, it happens immediately after Civil War, because at the end of Civil War, spoilers for the comic books, Cap dies. Allegedly dies.
Right.
And so
but it was a time bullet.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. Because comics and reasons.
Yes. But that's got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
I love that so much. So then, all right. So now we go to the very next thing, which they introduced, which was we got to see the entire cast for Thunderbolts. There was this really fun David Harbour moment where he came out in his actual Red Guardian outfit.
Oh, that was
in
so
character,
good.
And he looked,
and he was like, "Guys, we were supposed to be in costume."
It was so great. I was like, right on, man. And then everyone start talking about it. They did show a clip or a rough trailer. And according to all reports, the rough trailer was essentially had a very Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad, but a very Suicide Squad tone.
Right.
So it was very like pop music cuts and this and that. And I think that there's still the asterisks in their title. My prediction is that asterisk is going to denote that their name is actually something different. So for those of you playing at home, in the original the Thunderbolts comic takes place right after Civil War. At the tail end of it, they're a team that will play by the rules, and they're created by this new character. Well, the new character you find out very early on is Zemo, Baron Zemo from like Falcon Winter Soldier series and whatnot, and from the Captain America Civil War movie. Mm-hmm. And so they're started by him. These are villains who've taken on new names and new outfits in order to fake like they're heroes. That's the comic book premise. Now, one thing Marvel's really good at doing is taking a comic book premise, twisting it around and spitting it out in a slightly different way. Civil War was not like the comics. Infinity War wasn't like the comics, but they had enough of those elements that we go, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. This is good. Yeah. And so that's where that's going to land. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. I hope it's going to be good. And I'm going to be there, of course.
Right.
We'll review it, no doubt.
And one thing we did talk about before is that the big advantage that this movie has over Suicide Squad, and one thing that has me looking forward to it more than Suicide Squad, is the fact that we actually know every one of these characters already.
True. That's true.
And so it's not like, because one of the problems with Suicide Squad was they literally had to have a montage of just showing you the characters and putting their name on the screen so that you know who's who. But even then, you're not going to remember it in 5 minutes. You know,
I loved the first go round of that. I thought it was, hey Benny. I thought it was I thought it was really good. I feel like they really beat it to the ground fast. Yes. Like I was okay with the first round of this is who these people are, but then they kept doing it, and then they did it a third.
It was like half the movie by the time.
And I'm like, why are we? We know they're badasses. We can stop now.
Yeah.
So anyway.
But yeah, I'm more confident in this than I was of Suicide Squad because I know who all these characters are.
Right.
Most of them I've enjoyed in prior things, except for Taskmaster. I thought was a wasted opportunity, and but Ghost I actually thought was interesting. Winter Soldier is he's been a Marvel staple for a while. I actually liked U.S. agent when he was trying to be Captain America too.
Really?
Well, no, I didn't like him. I liked to hate him.
Oh, got you. Well,
Yeah.
and in the comics, that's how he was. So you're right.
Yeah.
I loved him for that reason too. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're going exactly
Yeah.
like very douchey, like he was in the books. In the
Right.
comics, he was every bit this.
And then I know this is sacrilege to say, but is her name Helena? Is that the other
Yeah.
Black Widow? So I kind of like her a little better than the
I
other
kind of
Black-
do too, actually. No offense. I don't care what anybody thinks of the Hawkeye show.
yeah.
After her scene in Hawkeye, I thought, I was like, she's brilliant. I love her.
I really like. Yeah, Hawkeye sold me on her as well. So look, and of course, look, I'm going to address the 10-foot red elephant in the room. I think that we're going to see Red Hulk in that movie.
Of course.
And in fact, I would not be surprised if this is a direct sequel to Captain America Brave New World, where the Thunderbolts are brought in to rein in Thunderbolt.
You just blew my mind. I had not even thought about that.
Yeah. So that wouldn't surprise, because Marvel likes to pull things like that.
They
So,
do.
like, could you imagine if Brave New World ends with Red Hulk on the loose?
All right, good night, everybody. Show's over because I don't know that I'm going to have a better take than that.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
And so the Thunderbolts are brought in to try and rein them in, and then you could have an excuse to bring in Captain America as well, to kind of lend a little gravitas to it all. And so
Yeah.
I think that could be good. So I think there's a lot more potential here than there was with Suicide Squad.
Okay, that's
Now,
fair. That's
that
super
being
fair.
said, Marvel's track record over the last couple of years has been less than stellar. And so, I mean, because honestly, of the newer Marvel films, like, some of them were enjoyable, but I just didn't have that awesome, I can't wait to the next movie feeling that I had during the Infinity Saga.
Right on.
Like, I liked Doctor Strange 2. I liked Shang-Chi.
Multiverse of Madness, you liked?
Huh?
You like Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah, I did.
I liked parts
I didn't
of
think
it.
it was
I didn't.
great. I thought
No.
it was a good, solid movie, though.
I agree.
I liked Shang-Chi.
Same.
I liked
Watched that here in my house. Like, we've rewatched it several times.
yeah, and Quantum Mania was kind of almost there. There were, but the problem is that then what was the Eternals all about? Oh my gosh, that was a
Man,
mess.
the comic doesn't even know what the Eternals is all about. So whatever. I'm
And-
with you.
and so, yeah,
It's
so-
by the way, it was a gorgeously filmed movie.
Oh, and let me tell you, Creep, Red Guardian is going to be the best comic relief Marvel has ever had.
I love it.
So
We loved us some David Harbour's Red Guardian.
all you got to
I can't
do,
even tell you.
watch his appearance at Comic-Con. That's Red Guardian in a
All day.
nutshell. Yeah, and so he nailed it. Because
Yeah,
I could just see him, because the thing about Red Guardian is he's the Russian version of Captain America, specifically the Soviet version of Captain America. And so he has
He
taken
always feels a little less than.
yeah, but his biggest regret in life is he never got to fight Captain America.
But he's got super soldier serum. Like, he's
Yeah.
all the stuff.
Yeah, he's got all the stuff, but he doesn't have the street cred, and so he's like has this whole regrettable existence, and so I think
love
he's
it.
going to be hilarious. I
Absolutely.
can't.
No, I agree. All right. So next movie that they revealed all the good stuff about was, I say all the good stuff. It was Fantastic Four.
Yes.
We got to see the cast on stage, which that was supposed to be a big surprise.
Yeah, because he said the
cast.
cast was in the UK, and
That's
then
right. Well, there have been pictures all week long up until this, and then they literally took a red eye with Sean Levy to get there as fast as possible and not tell anybody. Which I'm like, how do you do that? So,
Which, by the way, so since this is literally like they are filming right now, like
Yes.
they started filming yesterday.
Yep.
And so that means that what they look like here on stage is pretty close to what they're going to look like in the movie.
Agreed.
And based on that, Johnny looks like freaking Johnny Storm right there to me.
He really does, actually.
I'm like so sold on that. I can't wait to see the Human Torch.
Agreed.
what's her name is Sue. Maybe it's that outfit. I don't know.
I
It's
think
just
she's my issue with her is she has a very exotic look. Like her eyes
right.
almost kind of have this like they're turning up a little teeny bit, and the
Yeah.
eyebrow like she almost has a Vulcan quality to her, very aquiline, if you
Yeah.
will. I could see her playing an elf in like the Rings of Power or some
Yeah.
nonsense.
ABJ Johnny is the one with the brown jacket on.
Yes, he
So
played in. He was the guy with the long hair in Stranger Things the last season.
right. Now, of course, the guy playing the Thing from the Bear series, which I still haven't watched. I heard it's
Totally.
really. I hear it's really good, but I haven't watched it.
It keeps winning awards for being a comedy. It is
Yeah.
not a comedy, bro.
You know, nobody looks like Ben Grimm, really. However, if you look at that angle, if you've ever seen Fantastic Four #1, that does look a lot like Ben's face.
I
In
could see that. You're
Yeah.
talking with yeah. I see
yeah,
that.
and so I can kind of see it. Pedro Pascal's Reed. It's going to be a different Reed. But can Pedro do it? I think he can. Reed is best when you believe that he's really smart, but he's also kind of distant from everybody because he doesn't quite understand how to interact with other people right.
Right.
So we'll see. I'm not sold on Pedro Pascal's Reed, but I'm not sold, and I hope he shaves the mustache or grows a goatee, one of the two, because I don't want that to be Reed with the mustache because I
Okay,
just
so they put some test footage out at the thing, and I don't have because it was literally one of those things they don't see. There's some really bad camera phone pictures that I didn't want to show.
Yeah.
And but there's test footage which may actually end up being like actual footage from like we see it on a view screen or a video of it. That makes sense? Like Tony
Right.
Stark's dad. It's something they filmed, forced it,
Right.
and it's in this very 1960s looking science class. And he's got no beard. He does have a mustache, but it's light, and he's wearing glasses, and he's got a whole white jacket on, and he's got science stuff on the wall, and he's talking. His hands are moving and stuff. So I know that they're going for a feel. There's an actual. Let me go to the next image real quick, so you can because they showed the Fantastic car, which was this inflatable, remote controlled by drone.
I want that car.
This car is awesome. But if you look past it, that's their world.
Yes, that is the
Fantastic
concept art for
Four,
their world.
They're not coming from our world, 616 world, some adjacent. They're coming from a world where in the 60s they were living like the Jetsons. And I'm kind of digging that.
Or now what we don't really know, and because they've kind of said that, but is it really the 60s or is it just we're calling it the 60s because it feels like because it's retro future is what they call it. It's the future as projected from the 1960s.
Yeah.
And
Let's see. Maleficent Sky says they have to give Pedro Pascal some white on his side hair. I agree.
yeah, they absolutely must.
You gotta to come on at least to be Reed. You gotta have it. I totally am there for you.
Yeah, that is Reed's most iconic feature. Is the gray.
ABJ said, digitally removed mustache? God,
Oh
no.
no,
God, no.
Although if anybody could do it, I think Marvel could. DC though, with that weird, freaky looking Superman, that was just.
Oh, and then, of course, they did reveal the full title, which is not just Fantastic Four. It's Fantastic Four First Steps.
Right.
Which
I know
everyone's got ideas about what that means.
You're right.
Do you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, the speculation I've heard is mostly like it's, hey, Franklin Richards will be in it, and it'll be like he takes his first baby steps.
That's exactly
I don't think it's. I don't think it's going to be that cheesy. I don't think.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like their first step into the multiverse.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So my thought, my theory, if you will, is that they actually do because in the original comics, Reed was big because Jack Kirby loved drawing it. He created this gateway to the ninth dimension. He called it. Mm-hmm. And it was a sort of in-between place that could travel from one point into another. Now, nowadays in the modern Marvel comics, they might consider it either the doorway to the multiverse or something along those lines. I feel like they went out to search whatever, got their powers, and now they're out there almost lost in space like.
Now, I always thought it was nth dimension.
There you go. Fine. Yes.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
But the I'll say this. So keep in mind, this is a retro futuristic themed movie. So him calling it the nth dimension, like just like if he says the negative zone
Right.
or any of the cheesy things from Fantastic Four,
Right.
it'll play in this movie because that's the world they're in.
Agreed.
You know,
Absolutely. I agree with that.
and so I'm okay with that. But yeah, if he's like trying to, and who knows, like they're trying to get to the negative zone, but they actually end up in the 616 universe, or, we know Galactus is in it, and I did see the concept art of Galactus looking in through the window.
Yes.
That was really cool.
I saw that too, and I was like, okay, they're not playing. Although I did hear someone online who's talk about tell me you don't read comics without telling me you don't read comics. They were like, why is the building so much bigger than him? Is that supposed to be a threat? And I'm like, bro, Galactus can change size. Trust me. Okay, he can become just as big as the Celestial. Don't do that.
Yeah, the only time Galactus's size becomes an issue is if he is severely depleted. And then he begins to shrink because he has a
I will say that I also have issues with size once I have become depleted.
Yeah. Wow. But yeah, so Galactus, like in the early '80s, my favorite Galactus was there was an issue of Fantastic Four called "Everyone versus Galactus." And it was basically...
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
It was the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, and then there was a cameo from Spider-Man and Daredevil, and Galactus was landing in New York.
Right.
And one of the things that happened during that fight was Galactus was shrinking as the fight was going on because he was losing his reserves. And so while Galactus can be as big as a Celestial, that's assuming he's got a full charge. And so, because Galactus, one thing people don't understand, Galactus has a constant hunger and a desire to consume planets that apparently can sustain life. Now, what's interesting in the MCU lore here is that could be that Galactus is looking for planets that have baby Celestials in them.
No, and that's what they did. Remember, it's like you just
they
said,
did that in the comics,
right? In the comics,
okay.
that was that's recent, by the way. In the recent, like maybe last 10 years.
Okay.
There's this whole storyline where you find out that Galactus, yes, he was the first creature born from when the last universe died. Right. He was a scientist or whatever, but his purpose in this new universe is to do that.
Is to keep the Celestials in check.
Control the Celestial population.
So he's a Celestial predator.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And so basically, that makes Earth very unique.
Very much.
Because Earth is the only home of a dead Celestial.
Yes.
And so does that make Earth more or less desirable to Galactus? And
it's a great question.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully find out. Now, I think that in first steps, Galactus is going to destroy retro future Earth, and then the Fantastic Four escape.
And Reed's not able to stop him there.
And so now he goes to the MCU and he's like, we've got to figure out a way to stop this guy.
Well, the thing is also Galactus is multiversal, universal.
Right.
He's there's only one of him. He's a universal constant across.
That must be something recent as well, then.
Yeah, you can't like he's. I think Wanda was supposed to be the same thing. Like he's that big and important in our universe.
Yeah.
So interesting. The next thing that
ABJ, which Celestial died on Earth? The movie The Eternals.
The giant hand.
Yes.
That they never address in the ocean.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, but apparently that is somebody said they confirmed that dead Celestial is now going to be the world's source of adamantium.
Yes, whatever his name is. It's I can't remember. Tiamat. Anyway, but so on top of the Fantastic Four and everything else, now we're getting into the big stuff. This next thing, I could very well see us having a hot take on as well. So if you have to have one, don't worry, I'm ready with that button. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk. They introduced the Russos back into the mix. Yes. The Russos, best known for literally directing and writing, helping write rather, 4 of the biggest movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then ultimately ending with the Endgame movie. They have had a take on Secret Wars for a long time. And on the heels of having to everything they have to recover from with the Jonathan Major stuff and all these other things, they've come in. I do want to know your take on this once we kind of get into all of it, but they're going to be directing the next 2 Avengers movies, which are going to be, respectfully, Avengers Doomsday, which will obviously speak for itself, and we'll get to that in a second. Mm-hmm. And then the last one's going to be Avengers Secret Wars.
Yes. Now, Doomsday is the replacement for Kang Dynasty.
Yes.
And so, and for those of you that don't know, like some people might say, well, do you really know it's Doctor Doom? Because it could mean Galactus lands on Earth or something. Well, no, the problem is which is interesting because the first time Galactus lands on Earth, the name of that issue of Fantastic Four, If This Be Doomsday. That's the name of that issue.
Whoa. Can you see? Oh.
However, that being said, almost every time Doctor Doom shows up in the Fantastic Four, Doomsday is in the title.
Okay, that's fair.
So I'm thinking, and this is just thinking MCU and the way they do things. What if it's both? Because here's the deal: Doctor Doom is the ultimate baddie. However, he's only the ultimate baddie when he steals the power of even more ultimate cosmic beings, which he's done multiple times.
Yeah.
And he did it to the Beyonder and all that. So what if... so Galactus is, I think that if Galactus is the... comes over and follows Reed and family to Earth 616 at the end of Fantastic Four. Right. And Doom is also from the retro Earth. And so this Doom knows about Galactus, knows what Galactus did because it wiped out the Earth, right?
I could see that.
And now is preparing to absorb Galactus's power.
Oh, totally! I could see that. Doom's always been powerful,
and so in a very Infinity War saga kind of way, at the end of Doomsday, Doctor Doom absorbs Galactus's power, and then that brings us to Secret Wars, where Doom creates the battlefield and or Battle Earth or whatever it's called in the multi-dimensional Secret Wars. Yeah, I never read the multi-dimensional Secret Wars because when I think of Secret Wars, I think of the 1986
where we got Venom and where we got the symbiote and stuff. Yeah, with the Beyonders.
Yes. So there's only one Beyonder in that one. Yeah,
I think that's still a concept that could come back.
Now, here's the thing about the Russos. And by the way, Thomas is 100% right. I think the Phantom Menace has already decided that the Fantastic Four movie and both Avengers films are complete flops. They've completely bombed at the box office. It's over. Anyway. So
what about the Russos?
So the Russos coming back.
Is this a hot take?
See, it's more of a mixed take. Because, okay, are the Russos capable of making one of the most epic spectacles we've ever seen? Absolutely. I mean, I don't. If you deny that they could do it, you have not seen Infinity War and Endgame.
Agreed. No, absolutely. Okay.
That being said, I don't know the answer to this question. Maybe you do.
I have my eyes on you, sir.
All right. How much of the cringeworthy stuff from Endgame was the Russos' idea, as opposed to being inserted by someone else? So the all-girl Avengers lineup, the Captain Marvel being more powerful than everybody combined, all this stuff. Look, I was perfectly okay with, like, for example, I thought it should be organic, and I think an organic girl power moment was in Infinity War when the Black Widow was about to be killed, and then she gets a hand from Scarlet Witch and Okoye. Right, that was a great moment. However, when they have 25 women line up in a row, and where are all the guys? Are they just like having tea somewhere?
My
I mean,
favorite moment in that scene is as they're going across, all of a sudden Wasp, and you're like, really?
yeah. I mean,
Everybody's
where's Ant-Man? Why are there all the guys are just like, oh, well, I guess the women got it.
They're off too busy being busy.
Yeah, it made no sense whatsoever as far as that scene. That totally took me out.
Oh, everyone who thinks they're ready for our shield, here we go. Mrs. Know-It-All, Mrs. Know-It-All. The wife says it was totally not an earned scene.
Mm-hmm.
She's right. That's always been our argument when we watch the movie again. That
Right.
moment is not earned in
Not
any
at
way, shape,
all.
or form.
And in fact, that scene absolutely took it because it's like the most cringeworthy moment in cinematic history in the middle of one of the coolest epic battles in cinema history. So I don't even know how to feel about it. You know, it's really that one. And then of course you had and it was just a throwaway scene, so I didn't really care that much.
Okay.
But it's like, did we really have to have the director insert himself as the gay dude talking to Captain America about his boyfriend problems?
What's wrong with that?
Because it felt like the token gay scene. It honestly felt like that. Now, again,
So my wife, it's funny. She just brought up a really great moment. On the other flip side of earned, you go to the scene at the end of Mandalorian season 2. Mandalorian season 2 has a group of some of the strongest women we've ever seen portrayed in modern cinema, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They have been around all the season. They have established themselves. They have been strong. They have been powerful, and they're leading the charge. And I feel like that hallway scene was super earned. And I didn't question it in the least.
But even then, they all took a knee to Luke Skywalker.
Dude, everyone takes a knee to Luke. Come on.
But they didn't try. Like, honestly, if this had been made, you know, in certain circles, you know, Luke Skywalker would have come in and then tripped over his own shoelaces and gotten killed.
I got this, Luke. You just chill.
Yeah. You know.
All right. So back to the Russos. I'm sorry, I got us off topic.
That's okay. So with the Russos, if the cringeworthy stuff was all on them, then I'm going to be very nervous. But I don't know the answer. I genuinely don't know.
So the thing is, I tend to go into these things a lot bigger picture than your average fan.
Yes.
It becomes because I'm attached I'm from the film industry. I feel like they were amazing architects. I feel like they were, because they were very much involved. I don't know how many people are really aware. Go back, watch all the BTS that's out there on YouTube. They were involved in movies that weren't even theirs because they had to be. And they got other directors from those other movies involved in their parts so that they could be like, hey, I want your characters to still feel like the characters.
Right. That's why the Guardians felt like the Guardians and didn't. And like, it's what I would say, like 80s crossover problems. Like when in the 80s, it was a big thing on network television to have the stars of one show guest star on another show as kind of this cool thing. They're in the same universe kind of thing. Right. And the problem is whenever that happened, the guests always acted like someone other than the character they usually play.
Yes.
And so that was not a problem in Infinity War and Endgame,
right?
And which I do really appreciate. I'm certainly not dissing the Russos' directorial abilities or anything like that. My concern is that, you know, and granted, this year a big step forward in the fact that Kevin Feige was like, whoa, let's pump the brakes on everything Marvel. We'll just put out Deadpool, and Deadpool was a freaking masterpiece.
It really was,
right? And so. Now we've gotten a soft reboot, if you will, in that, hey guys, see, we're not all crazy and woke all the time. And so now let's see, you know, now give us a shot with Captain America, you know.
That's fair.
And if Captain America turns out good, then it's like, hey, check out the Thunderbolts. And it's, you know.
I love what you said, though. If it's true, all right. But listen, okay. So the Russos are doing their thing, but the thing is, they didn't come alone. And here's the real big moment in this whole thing, which is we got to see. That's right. Robert Downey Jr. revealed that he's coming back as Dr. Doom.
Yes.
And he's same new mask, same task. It was his little personal catchphrase.
Yes.
Which is I assume, to bring life to the MCU. That's how I took it. It's like same task, which is to carry all of y'all because you clearly can't do it without me.
Well, it's funny because Robert Downey Jr. is known as the biggest diva in the MCU.
Of course.
And he admits it. I mean, he's not like shy about it. So I'll say this. I know that there are some people that are just scratching their head saying WTF. Some people that are like, they just love Robert Downey Jr., so they're saying yes. Some people are saying this is a total mismatch. What are they thinking?
Some people are also saying that it feels like a desperation move.
Right.
And I don't know that all of them aren't wrong. On some level.
Well, everything. When it comes to a stagnant universe like we've seen from Marvel, anything they do is going to be a desperation move.
Absolutely.
So I'm not even. I mean, heck, they lost their main villain because of legal trouble. So,
I don't know that you don't have a universe where there's not a universe where. See, I have long believed, how in the world do you have RDJ come back? How do you have Iron Man come back? And I believe Iron Man come back. I believe there's only one way to do that. This is not our end-all be-all Doctor Doom. This is not our Doctor Doom moving forward into the far future. I believe this is our Doctor Doom for now. And then they're going to lay the groundwork for eventually introducing us to what will be a longer-running Doctor Doom that will be attached to the Fantastic Four more specifically. I don't know how they're going to get there, but my feeling is, I feel like, because no offense, you can't afford to keep paying RDJ the kind of money he's going to keep paying. We'll talk about that in a minute too.
Well, it depends. If these movies make $2 billion, yes, they can.
Well, and especially if you understand the economics of how film works, and I can explain that.
Right.
But my big issue at the moment is, if the only way you do this is don't tell me that at some point in the future, Iron Man doesn't face Doctor Doom and potentially save the universe again. I'm telling you.
That's definitely possible, but here's my, again, throwing my writer's cap on.
Sure.
I need to get a cap that says writer's cap so I can put it on.
Totally need to.
But then I couldn't wear my headphones, so I guess, anyway. So here's what I think is going to happen if the Russos consulted with me. And I don't think that it's...
Please, give them your advice.
Yes, and I don't think that it's a coincidence, by the way, that we find out about the Russos and RDJ at the same time.
Agreed.
I think the Russos...
it's not.
Yeah, I think the Russos brought him in, and I think they brought him in, and I think they sold him on what I'm about to tell you. This is just not granted. This is wild speculation on my point, but this would be, what I think logically the chain of events. So I think they sold him and they sold Feige on this idea. So we know that the Fantastic Four are from an alternate reality where it's a retro future reality, right?
Right.
Okay. So, and I already kind of spilled the beans a little bit, and then I said I think Doom came from that reality. I think Doom is a Tony Stark variant.
Yes.
From that reality.
Okay.
And in that reality, his name was Victor instead of Tony. All right. So, but he is, in fact, Tony Stark. He's just the evil Tony Stark from another universe.
Right on.
And
I'm laughing because it's so comic book, I can't even.
Right. And so then he comes in. And of course, the interesting thing is that any pre-existing Avengers, if depending on what they do with his face, as far as like, are they going to show his face?
Right.
Or how? Because the Doom, just for those of you that don't read Marvel comics, Doom in the comics, you never see his face, except for when something weird happens, like someone magically fixes it.
Right.
You've never seen his, at least not in the time that I read. You've never actually seen his scarred up face.
You've always seen implications of it, like in silhouette, very much like Vader from behind.
Right.
In that one, it's never like blatant. Here he is, at least that I've seen.
Right. And the idea there is that
search for that.
Doom hates his face so badly, that's why he wears the mask. And but if let's suppose that if this is pre-scarred. If other heroes from the 616 see him, they're going to be like, Tony?
Right.
And he'd be like,
well, and that's where a lot of the drama
who is this
comes
Tony
in.
you talk of? Yeah. And
I don't know. I can't see RDJ doing it. He has to do an accent, but I don't see him doing one.
Hey, you know what? He did a passable English accent in the Sherlock movie.
Whatever, man. Denzel Washington has decided that in Gladiator 2, his accent that he's done himself is enough. He's doing his that guy sounds like him from wherever he's from.
Right.
So,
but
I could see RDJ just being like,
I think RDJ can do. He's got the acting chops. He's
He does.
think about. I mean, look at him as Tony Stark, and then immediately think about him as Sherlock Holmes, and then immediately think of him from Tropic Thunder.
You're right. No, the guy's brilliant.
He's got range.
Yeah, he's an actor like you read about.
Yeah, so he's definitely got the range to do something different.
Yeah.
But so I am not. I was surprised. I was completely taken. Aback when as soon as he took the mask off and it was RDJ. I was like, "Holy crap, for real!" And Thomas with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, buddy.
Hey, there it is.
And so they should travel to a universe where everyone is played by Robert Downey Jr., even the women. And
Let's go.
And well, he did Tropic Thunder.
That is awesome.
Oh, man, that would be... Robert Downey Jr. would love that universe, I think.
He totally would.
So, yeah, I think he would do it. So, thank you so much, Thomas. And yes, that is the best comment of the day. Robert Downey Jr. as everybody in the universe. Could you imagine, like you?
Oh my God!
Like the Watcher with Robert Downey Jr.'s face, and yeah, blackface Robert Downey Jr. as Falcon.
Oh, jeez, that's so bad.
Oh man,
Funny, but so bad.
Yes.
I could see it.
I mean, they wouldn't have the balls to do it, I don't think, but it would be hilarious. And let's not forget Robert Downey Jr. as Black Widow. Come on,
I want to see that. I can't with the mustache and all. Just go for it.
Yeah. So I think that this is a Tony Stark variant.
Okay.
Who is, and by the way, this gives us a new thing too that because the thing about Marvel, what they've done so well with the movies that work, mainly Phase 1 through 3,
right?
But the things that really worked was when they took stories that were they were all original stories, but they were stories that we could see being published in Marvel Comics in 1979.
Yeah, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they had a Marvel flair and flavor to them, but they didn't copycat, right? And even with a lot of the times, like you were pointing out, like Civil War was not Civil War, but it took some elements of Civil War and kind of played with them a little.
Absolutely
bit,
did.
Okay,
right.
So think about this: we all know the origin, or at least you and I know the origin of Doctor Doom. And for those of you that don't know, Victor Von Doom and Reed Richards were college roommates, and Reed Richards tried to correct Doom on some experiments that he was doing to try to blend science and sorcery, and Doom got pissed at Reed because how dare you try to correct me? I'm smarter than anybody.
That's right.
And then the experiment literally blows up in his face, and that's why he's scarred up.
But it's Reed's fault.
Yes, but he blames Reed, and from that point on, Doom has had a very special hatred of Reed Richards. Yes, Doom wants to take over the world. Yes, he's the evil mustache-twirling villain, but he hates Reed Richards.
Yeah.
Now, how do we do this in a totally different context in the MCU?
Okay.
He blames Reed for Galactus destroying the Earth.
Wow, you have just blown my mind, sir. Again, that is brilliant. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that idea.
So, and that would give him that same level of absolute, even though it was clearly not Reed's fault. Whatever we find out happened.
Right.
But he will absolutely blame Reed, and so that will be the root of their hatred.
That's awesome. I love that. I want to see that movie right now. That's the movie I want to see.
Hopefully, the Russos are working on it.
Friends of the show, Russos, get on this idea.
Yeah, we know the Russos watch this show. Come on. We know. The Russos can't hide from us. So that's honestly what I think would be. And now, who knows? They may have something way better than what I'm thinking of. They may have something way better.
Trust me. They're going to have something crazy, I'm sure.
Yeah, but but if you look at what the Russos pulled off with Infinity War and Endgame, I absolutely believe they have what it takes to pull this off.
Agreed. The
question is, will they?
Right on, man.
So that's kind of my whole thing. I am very excited for Fantastic Four, but also very nervous about it. I gotta say, as far as the MCU as a whole, I'm really hoping that Deadpool and Wolverine is the moment that we can finally tell the Phantom Menace people to shut the F up. And that moving forward, we're back to
It's
good
gonna be
Marvel.
good. And the thing is, I feel like they just have to go back to just tell stories, man.
Yeah.
Tell the stories you're trying to tell. Don't shoehorn ulterior motives or whatever. Just tell the story.
Well, you know what's
Love
funny
those.
is I watched a review of someone, and I can't remember who it was, but it was someone from the Fandom Menace crowd,
Sure.
and they were trying to do a review of Deadpool and Wolverine. Now it's really hard to hate on this movie,
Very.
right? And so what he was doing was he was ripping it to shreds because he said that the story wasn't that deep. He said, "Oh, sure, the jokes were funny, but the story wasn't that great." And it's like, dude, do you not understand? This is a comic book movie. All right, this is not supposed to be.
It's not exactly
This is not Schindler's List, right? This is this is two guys who can't be killed running around and fighting bad guys that can't be stopped. So it's just a comic book movie.
Agreed.
Have fun with it.
Yeah, you should be enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, isn't that what entertainment is supposed to be? Is entertaining?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you. I think it's absolutely, and I feel like that's the big issue people are going to look at is if you're not able to have fun with these things, they are what they are. I don't understand why everyone's trying to change them or make them ultra nuanced. Like, just accept it for what it is. Now, mind you, that doesn't mean we don't get different stories. That's like, I feel like this, like you said, I feel like Captain America: Brave New World is going to be a complete return to that Winter Soldier-esque spy espionage vibe, and I'm down, man. I'm all for it.
And I'm thinking Thunderbolts may actually be an attempt to like replicate a little bit of Civil War.
I could see that.
And then when we get Fantastic Four, I think that because Iron Man was the heart of the Marvel universe for the first three phases.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that the Fantastic Four become the heart of the Marvel universe moving forward.
I could see that.
Because
I wish to.
Yeah, because they were, I mean, they're called the first family of superheroes for a reason. And
True.
so that's something that I hope that we can see. And ABJ wants me to be a Marvel scriptwriter. You know what? Marvel is actually, I'll tell you, Mr. Know-It-All lives in Marvel Land. Because Marvel is headquartered in your hometown.
True story.
Yeah, and so I'm which makes me just so jealous. You work at my dream job. You live next to my dream company. What a jerk!
All right, well there you go, guys. That's the show. We've been talking about all this stuff. What are some final thoughts you have, man, about everything that SDC rolled out? What are you most excited for? What are you thinking?
Boy, you would have to ask me that. So most excited for, I would honestly.
Here comes the third hour.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think. Okay, Fantastic Four. I'll tell you, I've been waiting for a good Fantastic Four movie since like 1975. So it's hard to not put that at number one.
Right on.
However, on a realistic note, from what we've actually seen, I would have to say Strange New Worlds has got me the most hyped directly from what we've seen.
Right on.
Because I really enjoyed the clip as much as some people hated on it, and it's my favorite new Star Trek show. So awesome. I'm hoping that we get a great season 3 from Strange New Worlds, and Salty is extremely excited for Agatha. Thomas. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, but honestly, cautiously optimistic about the future. I think that now that Discovery is done,
right,
we can get that bad taste out of our mouth.
Stop it.
I'm sorry, I hated that show.
I hear you. I understand.
And
I do understand where that comes from, by the way. Please don't think I don't.
I don't hate it because of woke reasons. I just didn't like the structure, and Michael Burnham's character was poorly written, and she was the centerpiece of the entire series.
Salty, what are you excited for? Happy for? Good stuff.
Sorry. But yeah, Strange New Worlds definitely
for sure.
Captain America 4 or 3?
4.
Captain America 4 definitely looking forward to. The rest of the stuff they didn't show enough for me to have a strong feeling on.
Right.
And Lower Decks, I'm looking forward to Lower Decks as well. So
Right on.
that's because Lower Decks is just gonna, as long as they don't go crazy raunchy again, I'll enjoy the final
No, that's
season.
fair.
Yeah.
For me, the things I'm excited for are Superman for sure. I'm a big Superman fan, and seeing him go back to a more Christopher Reeve-esque, meaning go more warm and more hopeful, rather than the very dour, dark Snyderverse version, which had its ups. I get it. But I really want. I'm from what I'm seeing from a lot of the BTS stuff that dropped when it was filming. I'm excited for it, and I think for me, when it comes to Star Trek, absolutely Strange New Worlds for sure. Lower Decks. My daughter and I are going to do the last season. We've done the reviews for the rest of the seasons up to this point, so we're excited for that too. Section 31. I might be able to take or leave. So
we never talked about the Section 31 trailer.
There's nothing really to talk about. It's a disco. It's like a disco. It's disco, but I just mean like it's weird.
It's not even that. You know what?
It has no. It has a. I don't even know what it is. It's Alias season 1.
It's Star Trek Wars.
I hate you. It's Star Trek Wars
Because it is. I mean, they showed fighters buzzing around and
fighters buzz around. Things happen.
Not in Star Trek.
They maybe not the ones we saw. But anyway, no. I also, of course, the Avengers
defending the script.
The Avengers stuff we saw and all that things coming. I'm very excited for what the future holds as well for the MCU.
So Mr. Know-It-All proving that he doesn't, in fact, know it all.
Whatever. Anyways, all right, guys. Listen, do me a favor. I know you guys have been commenting live throughout the show, but leave comments below further, even after this. Like, share the video. Tell people about what we're talking about, because we want to be sure and kind of grow this thing as much as possible. I know that. Where can everybody find you beyond just being here, Salty?
Pretty much just here.
All right, fair enough.
No, that's actually there. We do have a second channel. It's called Salty and Pepper, which is me and my wife doing little movie reviews.
Oh, that's awesome.
This weekend we will be reviewing Trap.
Okay.
And so
I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, it's a serious and retrospective on the life and times of Admiral Akbar.
I hate you so much. That's awesome. I'm at a Real Know-It-All on all the different socials.
Oh, and Criticless, yeah, duh.
Oh, of course, we both have a Criticless, which we absolutely love. Yeah. Criticless is the alternative to Letterboxd that is good, and where it's very much not pretentious, and that's one of the things I love about it. So, yeah man, I've had a really good time, guys. I hope you have too. I cannot wait to see you guys next week, and never.